Welcome to CSEGuru. The next topic we will discuss under C programming is switch statement in C, and it comes under the category multi-way selection statement in C. So multi-way selection statement is nothing but it will select only one alternative among several alternatives. And this switch case is a composite statement used to make decision between many alternatives. So, like multi-way selection statement, in switch case also many alternatives will present. Among many alternatives, only one alternative the switch case statement will choose and it will execute the statement present in the case. And the switch case statement is associated with case statement and break statement. So if you are considering the syntax for switch statement, switch, then within bracket we need to specify the expression. And this expression will be evaluated based on the result of this expression. It will select one of the case statement and it will execute the statements present in the case statement. So several alternatives will be present in switch statement and each alternative will be represented as a individual case statements. And this switch statement will evaluate the expression. It will evaluate the given expression and based on the result of this expression, it will select one case statement, any one of the case statement based on the result of this expression and execute the statements present in this case statement. And at the end of each case statement, if we are considering, there is a break statement. That is, after executing the statements present in this case statement, it has to break from this switch statement and control has to transfer out of the switch statement. So that we need to specify the break statement at the end of each case statement. Suppose if none of the case statement executes based on the expression evaluation, then by default it will go to default statement and execute the statements present in the default. So each switch statement will have a default statement at the end. So this is nothing but the switch case statement. So syntax for switch statement is switch, then immediately we should not give space here. So immediately after the keyword switch, we need to place open bracket, then specify the expression, then close the bracket. And here we should not specify any semicolon here. And this curly brace represents the start of the switch statement and this curly brace represents the end of the switch statement. All the case statement and default statement will present within this curly brace. So this will be like a compound statement. Then after this curly brace, we need to specify the case statements. That is case 1 and at the end of the case statement, we need to specify colon. And this is the syntax rule in C for the case statement. So we need to specify colon here. Then we can specify these statements. Any number of statements we can able to specify and each statement has to end with a semicolon. And after specifying all the statements corresponding to this case statement, at the end we need to specify the break statement. And this break statement purpose is it has to terminate from this case statement and control has to go out of the switch statement. So among these many alternatives, that is each alternative will be represented like a case statement. So among these many alternatives, based on the expression evaluation, only one alternative at a time it will choose and execute the statements present in that alternative. After executing the statements present in that particular case statement, it has to go out of the switch statement. The remaining all the case statements as well as the default statement, it has to skip. That is the meaning. So this is the purpose of switch statement. So here case 1 colon, then we need to specify any number of statements. Each statement has to end with a semicolon and at the end of the case statement we need to specify break. And break also should end with a semicolon. And if you are considering here the switch and this case and break, all are keywords. Next case statement, that is next alternative, case 2 and here semicolon we need to specify. Then any number of statements under this case statement and all the statement has to end with a semicolon, and at the end we need to specify break statement with semicolon. Similarly, case 3, case 4, case 5, likewise any number of case alternatives we can able to specify within the switch statement. And at the end of the switch statement, we need to specify default. And this default statement purpose is nothing but when this expression result does not match with any of this case alternative, means it won't execute any of the case statements. So by default, it will come to this default part and execute the statements present in this default. So if you are considering here, at a time, all the case statements and default statements won't execute. Any one case statement will execute based on the result of this expression, or if the result of the expression does not match with any of the case statement, means it will go to default statement and execute the statements present in the default statement. So this is the syntax for switch statement. And if you are considering the flowchart, switch, then we need to specify the expression and we need to evaluate this expression. So based on the expression evaluation, it will go to, this is case 1 and execute the statements present in case 1. And this is case 2 and execute the statements present in case 2. And case 3, statements present in case 3. Likewise, any number of case statements we can able to specify within switch statement. And at the end, we need to specify default. And the statements present in default. So, if you are considering here, the switch statement will evaluate this expression, and based on the result of this expression, it will select any one of the alternative, that is any one of the case statement, and execute the statements present in that case alternative. After execution, control will transfer out of the switch statement. Suppose if this expression matches with the case 3, means it will execute only case 3 statements and control will transfer out of the switch statement. In case, if any of the case statement does not match with this expression result, means that time by default it will go to default statement and execute the statements present in the default, and control will transfer out of the switch statement. So if you are considering here, all the case are nothing but alternatives, including default is one of the alternative. So any one of the alternative at a time it will execute and it will exit from the switch statement. So this is the purpose of switch case statement. Commonly we will call it as switch statement or switch case statement. Since it passed with the case statement, we will call it as switch case statement. So this is the syntax and flowchart for switch case statement. So format for switch statement. The switch statement must include at least one case statement. So we have already discussed the switch statement will consist of many alternatives and each alternative will be represented as a case statement. So if you are using the switch statement, means at least one alternative should present, that is one case statement should present with the switch statement. And each case expression is associated with a constant. So if you are considering the switch statement, a switch in, we need to specify the expression. And within the switch statement, we will specify the case statement, case 1 statements and then break. Then case 2 statements and then break. If you are considering here, each case expression should be associated with a constant. That is how it should be a constant value, and this constant value should pair with this case statement. The keyword case with the constant are known as case labeled statement. The keyword along with its constant, that is case labeled statement. And the case expression should be followed by a colon. So each case expression should be followed by a colon, not semicolon. Here we should use only colon, otherwise it will raise syntax error. And associated with 0 or more statements. So here we can able to specify 0 or more statements in every case statement. And this case label will provide an entry point to execute the switch statement. And default is a special form of labeled statement. At the end we can able to specify default. and this default statement will execute when none of the case statement matches. So that time only this default statement will execute. So this is the format for switch statement. Next, rules to use switch statement in C programming. The control expression followed by the keyword switch must be an integral value. That is, this is the syntax for switch. This control expression should be an integral value, and this integral value always should match with this constant. Then only it will select the particular case statement and execute the statements present in that case. Expression followed by each case label must be a constant expression. So the expression followed by each case label, this should be a constant expression. Either case 1, case 2, case 3, likewise we can able to specify, or case any letters. That is, if it is a character constant in the sense, we have to specify with a single quote. That we need to remember. And this expression will be evaluated at compile time, not the runtime. And no two case labels have same values. So if you are considering case 1, case 2 means these two case labels should not have same value. So if you are specifying same value means the switch statement will get confused which case alternative it has to execute. So no two case statements should have same constant values. And two case labels can be associated with the same statements. This constant value should not be same, but the statements, whatever the statements we are specifying within the case statement, that can be same for two case statements. No problem for that. And the default label, actually it is not required. If expression value does not match with any of the case statement, in that case we need an alternative. So that we have to specify the default statement. And the switch statement must include at least one default label. And the default label can be coded anywhere. This default label even you can able to specify at the start of the switch statement. Anywhere you can able to specify the default statement as one of the alternative. But traditionally we will use at the last. That is, after specifying all the case alternatives, we will specify the default alternative. So these are all the rules we need to remember while writing the switch statement in C programming. So in this session, we have discussed the concept of switch statement, its syntax, flowchart, and the rules to use switch statement in C programming. In the next session, we will discuss an example to implement the switch statement. Thank you for watching this video.